Well, guess what day it is? It is Terrific Tuesday, and we're here with another episode of Teague's Take. Man, we got a good one lined up for you guys tonight. We got to be able to talk to our special guest. I've been teasing him all week long about Blaine Bishop, who is all-pro, everything. He's going to be joining us a little bit later. We're going to hit, man, what's up with DK? DK Metcalf running the Olympics, and then, of course, some high school football on these guys. Leaving school a little bit early for spring football in college. Tonight, also, we're having join me will be JT, my son. You guys know him, James Teague. He is the analytical one, so we're looking forward to all the things he has to say. And we do have a very special guest with us today, Big Game James. Man, he got it going on. He got his own podcast, and I'm really glad that he's able to sit in with us for a little bit. But before we get to them, it is time for me to go ahead and have my run out. And today I want to talk to you about the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. I was very blessed this past weekend to spend a lot of time with family, friends, former players, and I was inducted into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. And oftentimes we don't know what that really, you can't picture or really understand what that feels like to be honored like that. So first of all, just traveling back to Birmingham and, you know, seeing all of the things that they put together for this was amazing, right? And then you have family there. It's amazing, right? But a lot of the guys surprised me and showed up, and I didn't even know they were there. You know, Dabble Swinney, head coach from Clemson, ended up being there. Woody McCorvey, who was one of the coaches at Alabama while I was there, who's also at Clemson, came. We had Sam Shea, Prince Wembley, Derek Oden. These are guys that played with me in the national championship game. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Bill Curry, man, Bill Curry came back and spent some time with me. He was the coach that actually brought me there. And Coach Stallings, and you just go on and on. Then the other guys that came back and that were there. And these are pictures and things that I didn't even put on Twitter, on Instagram or Facebook, you know, where these guys were there. And it gets really, really emotional, you know, and people try to say, well, what does that really feel like? And it's kind of hard to put that in words because it does humble you, and that's what you hear most people say. But it's tear-jerking. It's very honorable. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave a very personal thank you to the Hall of Fame committee, all the people that voted for me to get me in, the board of directors, the hospitality that Birmingham gave us to be able to do that, knowing when you're going in with people like Jesse Owens, Terrell Owens. I'm sure Big Game want to say something about that a little bit later. You know, and just there's so many people in there in a small scale, right? It's only like 300 and something people in the Hall of Fame, Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, and I'm just fortunate and blessed to be one of those. So I thank all my family and everybody came into it. But you know what we have? We have someone else who's experienced something like this, and that's Blaine Bishop. This is our special guest. He's gone into the Tennessee Hall of Fame. He's in the Ball State Hall of Fame. He's in the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame. So let's go ahead and bring our panel back in, and let's talk about this. Man, good evening to everyone. Thank you guys for being on tonight. Blaine, I want to start with you a little bit. Man, did you cry when you got inducted to any one of your Hall of Fames, or how'd you handle this, Mr. Hitman? What'd you do, brother?
Man, I would say the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame probably is the one, and that was the most recent. And right before that was the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame the year before that. So we're talking 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And I was really, as you said, humbled and really surprised because you don't think about those things as a player and that you're going to be inducted or anything like that. You're playing for your teammates, and you just kind of rehash all the things that happened to you throughout that process to get to where you were. And that's what's really, humbling and really makes you emotional. And for me in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, I kind of honored all the women in my life, which were all my aunts and my mother and my grandmother, because I'm a piece of all of them because they helped me get to that point. Mm-hmm. And I kind of went down all the different things and attributes that they brought to me and that I am in them. And I was just really thankful for them being part of my life and really helping me get to that point. really through all their different personalities and how they contribute to me not wanting anything back and not even knowing that I would even be a NFL player or even in a Hall of Fame at all. I just really appreciate all those women that were there and all my aunts. I have 9 aunts, and with my mother's sisters, and man, they would be at every game, win, lose, or draw. I play good, bad, or indifferent, or if I wasn't even playing, I was just sitting on the bench, in little
Mm-hmm.
leagues at a basketball game, So that's the part that really it was for them, and without them, I wouldn't have been able to be there and make it to that point.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know uh, how aggressive those women were in your
Some of them
life,
were.
but the way you were bringing that wood and hitting people, boy, I
Right.
tell you what, they must have you taking out some anger on somebody, man. They must have been getting after you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
I can give you a couple of stories. We go out there, they be like, "Oh man, you hit that guy, but you didn't hit him." Like when I'm in middle school. The next thing you know, I come my aunt and gave me a bloody nose. I'm like, "What the?" My mom was like, "What did you do to that boy?" "Oh, he needs to get tougher." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, man." So yeah, I had all of them brought something different. One was, the compassion. "Oh, baby, that's my baby." And I had the one that was like tough, and my mom was a disciplinarian. She was just, she ran the house.
mhm.
So yeah, and I was the only child. So it was like I was all their kids, man, and they all protected me too. Growing up in the circumstances that I was surrounded me, and it never even phased me.
So tell us about your journey then with that. I'm hearing you talking a little bit about your family and all that, but we know you went to and played at Ball State,
Yeah.
and then eventually getting drafted in 1993, same year I came out, right?
Hmm.
To go to was that the Houston Oilers at the time? Oh, man, how's
Oh,
that
who's
make you feel?
that?
The Houston
Yes,
Oilers.
sir. Yes, sir.
Blue,
So
love you, blue.
tell us about that journey, man. What made you pick Ball State? How did all that happen? How'd that come down?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna start a little smidgen ahead of that because I wasn't. I was all state like all of us were, and all metro and all everything in high school. I was a running back in high school.
Mm.
Barely played defensive back, just here or there while we played a great receiver, or you get that guy, right? So I finished high school, and I wasn't highly recruited. I wasn't highly recruited. So I went to a private Catholic school. Naturally, they recruited me out of the street there in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom ended up getting a real good job. So we ended up being close to Cathedral High School, which was very impactful for me and my development, uh, not only as a person, just as a student and putting priorities all where they needed to be, man. Without that, man, oof, it would have been kind of interesting. But after all of that, I wasn't highly recruited. They said I wasn't a Division I player, and it really stunned me
Mm-hmm.
because all my friends that I grew up with, and let's just call it what it is, in the hood, they were going to big schools, and I was better than them. So that kind of hurt me, and that's kind of when the fire really got lit. I thought I was working hard, and I just started training every day. I'm on running hills, doing whatever I thought I needed to do, even more than what I was doing, lifting weights. So I ended up going to a Division II school. I had really good grades coming out of high school and everything else. So I went with a couple of the buddies I went to high school with. And that school was called St. Joseph's College in Rensselaer, Indiana.
Whoa.
I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I did not know where Rensselaer, Indiana was.
Mm-hmm.
So ended up going to St. Joe's with a couple of my buddies. Uh, Literally, probably the fourth or fifth game, had a lot of injuries on the running back side. And I was playing defensive back. I started and was just playing corner slash safety, moving around, just doing a lot of different stuff. And ended up having a real big game playing offense and defense. I think I scored 4 touchdowns in 4 different ways, running back, return a punt,
I hear you.
intercepted a
I hear you.
ball. I think ran a kickoff back, and just coincidental because a lot of running backs got hurt that game. So they were down to just me. So I ended up playing both sides of the ball in one game. My freshman year, just got there, and lucky for me, there were 2 NFL scouts there to watch another player on the other team.
Oh wow.
And after I finished that game, it's unbeknown to me, they say the Giants and the Jets were there and said, "You got a shot at the NFL." This is not even 3 months after my high school coach told me I wasn't a Division One player and wasn't highly recruited. So not only him, but everybody else verified what he was saying. So I thought the guy was crazy. He was like, "Hey, you're the only bow-legged guy out there. There's only one." Then the season goes on, and I end up making the vision. I never thought about it again. I just like, "Damn, man, that's cool." And then I didn't think about it again. I just went back to work, and I was just a very focused guy. And next thing you know, I make Division II All-American. So I go back to that high school coach who was the president of the school at Cathedral High School, and said in his face and said, "Am I now a Division I football player?" By myself. He said, guess what he said 6 months later? Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
I said, where can I go? He goes, you can go to Indiana State, not a real good football program. Go to Ball State, you probably could start right away. Or you can go to IU. You probably have to sit a year and then you'll probably play. I said, Didn't never ask him. It's in my mind, like, what changed? Didn't nothing change in 6 months. But I never did say that.
Right.
And I said, guess where I want to go? You said I could start right away? I'm going to Ball State. Give him a call. Gave him a call right there in front of my face and called him, and that was the rest. And that's how I got there. Now, the rules were different there. I had to sit out a year and practice the whole time. I think I played every position on the man besides lineman. Quarterback, option quarterback, running back, corner, safety, wherever they needed the best player to play, that's where I played. And then after one semester, they said, you're on full ride. You want to play running back or defensive back? I said, where can I have a chance to start immediately? They said, well, we got a pretty couple good running backs. Bernie Pomeroy.
You play with old Bernie?
I remember Bernie Pomeroy.
His senior year was my freshman year, and or sophomore year, redshirt sophomore year. So I said, he said, you can compete to start at corner. I said, that's where I want to be then. I want to start. So come spring ball, I'm starting at corner. And then the rest was history after that, all MAC and everything else. And then, getting drafted from Ball State was kind of incredible. I wasn't sure that was going to happen. Meanwhile, I'm watching you on TV the whole time, like, man, dang, I don't know if I'm as good as them dudes at Alabama, man. Them dudes are good. Yeah. Then to go play in the Senior Bowl with you guys and get invited, man, I was kind of starstruck a little bit there, man. Y'all had the whole crew on the team. So win the national title. So that it was full circle all the way around. My journey there it was tough, and I worked hard for it, and I appreciate it. Nobody gave me anything, and that's probably when it started really at Ball State, when all the hitting and the hitman and all those things that I kind of created. I had a Letterman jacket that I put on there on the back and kind of walked around campus like I was Batman on campus. And I could say I was a physical guy for a corner, but we all know that safety is a different kind of physical. Yes, and that didn't really create till I got to the Titan or Oilers at the time who drafted me 214. And that was because I was so scared that I was going to get cut. I just started hitting everything that was moving. And that was kind of trained in me by Buddy Ryan, because I wasn't like that.
Oh, no, he's tough there. He's tough, dude.
They basically scared me into becoming that guy. And then I saw how one punt return, Chris Dishman and Steve Jackson, they were the gunners or jammers, and I was a gunner, right? I'm running down, and they just manhandled me and threw me to the side.
You weren't under the bleachers over there, under the water coolers and stuff, was you?
Yeah, that's where I was, and I had never been there. I looked at them bleachers. I said, guess what, bro? That'll never happen again. Line the freaking you-know-what back up. And I said, I'm going to attack one of them. And if I lose the other one, that's okay, but I'm going to get one of them. And that's really where the hitman really came into form, because when I watched it on video, I saw how I played differently. And I said, that's how I'm going to have to play the
Blaine, I know what happened.
Right.
I know what happened. You went under them bleachers over there, and you saw your aunt. And, and all the women in your life saying, what is going on out here, man?
Yeah, well, I didn't want to go back home and tell them that I didn't make it. I said, I'm going to give it all I got. And if I don't make it, I can say, hey, it just wasn't.
Tried, right.
Yeah. So being drafted 214 at that time, that was the 8th round. So I didn't even know if my goal was to make the practice squad. Yeah. I ended up making it just because a couple guys got injured, Bubba McDowell, some really good players from the U. As well as Marcus Robinson tore his ACL, and Mike Dumas from IU tore his Achilles tendon. All these guys were high draft picks and really good players. Bubba just came from the Pro Bowl. So that kind of opened the door for me, really, to have an opportunity to run with the twos, and then they could see some things. And I studied the playbook, and I was really good at understanding the 46 defense. Never played in the box ever before in my life. I was scared of it, and they taught me how to read blocks and keys, and I just kind of threw my body in there and say, "Hey, man, hope for the best."
Well, you JT and Big Game. I don't know what y'all hearing in this, but I hear, that's the overcoming everything, whatever people saying, height, size, weight, speed, whatever, and just that determination to, to do it, man. Don't let nobody take your dreams, right?
Yeah, I was passionate. I loved the football. I loved the game, and it showed when I played. And I said, "Hey, man, if I don't make it, it's gonna show when I practice and play. And hey, man, if I'm not good enough, I can live with that." It was a dream. Didn't think I could make it to that point, and I said, if I can walk away and not say I made it, I can say I gave it everything I got.
So I got to ask you about this. Maybe a former running back and now current running back. So did Eddie George welcome you in with a nice shoulder coming? What was that like? That dude was big. So we that I don't know what year was it. I guess it would have been that year. I don't know when it was, but I ended up having a scrimmage and seeing this dude. He was like the biggest running back I'd ever seen at the time. I was afraid to hit the dude myself. Seemed like.
Well, that's not how I welcomed him. The term hitman, when he was a rookie, I went airborne and earholed him and said, "Welcome to the NFL."
There we go. We go. I like it.
Eddie George from that point on said, "Hey, man, this dude right here is a little different."
I think, when did he come in? Was that
95?
96?
95?
Big 5, 6, yeah.
95,
So he was
96.
right there with us in Houston. Literally 2 years. It was McNair. Then they drafted him the next
right after that. Hey, Blaine, I want to ask you a question. So, I was telling the fellas off the air before you got on air. I watched you when I was young. I watched your game. I mean, I remember that's the main thing I remember about you. Well, here was what I told the fellas. I said, this is the first thing I remember about Blaine Bishop. He was short and he had them bow legs. That was the first thing I remember about them bow legs. When I seen him running, when I always seen you run, I seen them bow legs going crazy on somebody. I was this short, stocky dude laying the wood on people. You feel me? So you're getting drafted in the 8th round. What were the teams like when you had interviews with some of the teams? What were the teams kind of telling you? What was the reason maybe you went in the 8th round? What was kind of the things they were saying? And what was Houston when they drafted you? What were the reasons for them drafting you? What kind of attributes did you add to that team that they wanted to bring you on board?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because it was, I didn't have any big draft party, anything like that at Ball State. I was really just me and my roommates in our apartment there. Then it became just me and then me at the library after I wasn't getting drafted and coming back to my place and asking Houston, or they called me and say, "You drafted me." I said, "You called me in the 4th round, said you're going to draft me. You didn't draft me." So I don't believe you because I'm not watching TV right now. I'm in the library studying. Yeah, and that was real talk there because I was like, "Hey, this is a bunch of BS." I was at the Senior Bowl and all these dudes at the Senior Bowl all got drafted. I wasn't the worst player there. Matter of fact, I kind of gained confidence. I was like guarding a missile. I'm like, man, I'm up here running with the missile.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, shoot, man, I can run with him. I don't care if I was a half step behind him.
Right.
I thought I was going to go middle rounds. Thought I was a middle round guy. That's kind of confirmed by everybody. And then next, I'm dropping. I had a couple teams call me, said they actually were going to draft me, and Houston was one of them, and didn't. So I thought, Then I start seeing guys in the 6th round and 7th. I'm like, man, I've never even heard of this guy. So, and I was a really big football guy, so I knew guys all across the country. As far as I paid attention, and I watched the game. I love the game, so I watched them. And I was a realist too. Who was better than me? I knew Teague was better than me, and who's better than you. But you say, oh, wait a minute now, I'm just as good as that guy. And then when you start saying, I'm not heard of that guy. So that lit the fire once again, another torch to just get me revved up to like, okay, I got you. And I don't even know where I got that from. I'm talking about as far as the confidence and belief in my own self. And I could say it was given to me, but I think it was just having success early in my career that I believed that I was as good as I thought I was in my mind. I never talked about it. I was kind of a quiet kid at that time. And I just believed in myself. Really, at the end of the day, nobody's going to hand you anything. And so that's kind of how it happened. I was just sitting there in my apartment by myself after leaving the library studying for an exam. I mean, you at Ball State, man. You like, this is not happening, man. You get to step around. And, you know, then my agent started talking to me about, hey, it may be better off that you don't get drafted. It got, you know, middle of the last round, because now you can choose the team that actually needs a safety.
Right.
So it got to that point. I'm like, oh, man. Then he convinced me of that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started thinking like that. The next you know, the Titans draft me. And then I was a little perturbed. I think they could hear it in my voice. I was like, y'all don't even need no safeties, man. Y'all got a whole bunch of safeties.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was that kind of dude. I was a realist, like, dude, man, I'm gonna go for the practice squad.
Right.
Well, you showed them wrong.
Y'all just got some dudes in the first, second round last year.
Well, now 4 Pro Bowls later, 2-time All-Pro later, you know, Hall of Fame, everything, man. Kudos to you for, you know, staying on that grind and, you know, proving them wrong. When that, you know, when people don't, I don't know. I get tired of.
You know that, George, right? There's a lot of luck and things got to work into play. And Buddy Ryan bringing the 46 defense, that really helped me out a lot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I do understand that. You know, I think it just says a lot, you know, about your character. Because some people would just quit or say that it was over, and you know, you said no. You know, so that's great. That's great. So. I know they probably have some more questions for me, but I at least want to make sure and talk about a couple of things that you're doing in the community now, right? I think you're helping out Boys and Girls Club. Is that right?
Boys and Girls Club. You know, I'm really close to that whole organization, and really it's personal for me, George and guys, is because that's the system I grew up in. That's where it really all started for me, and I got belief because the director of the program was a professor at Marion College, and he's the one that kept telling me every day that you're special. You're going to get out of here, and I'm going to make sure of it, and I'm going to help you. And he's the one that actually facilitated me going to Cathedral High School because his son went there. And so that really he was the nuts and bolts to everything, from where I was on the swim team to the diving team to the football, basketball, chess team, karate team. I was on every team known to man. And
boy, you can't swim. You don't know how to swim.
Hey, people gonna laugh at me. I really believe, and I use that swimming, running in the pool all of my whole career. Ask the people down here at the Y. That's what prolonged my whole career, was swimming. I was a big swimmer. I really wanted to be a swimmer. I hate to say it, but you know, I wanted to be a great diver as well. I wanted to be Greg Louganis as a diver. Yeah, I was serious. I got medals and everything. I thought, and then when I get to college, I was like, oh man, all that swimming though helped me. It helped me tremendously, and I continued that in my career. So yeah, I did it all from academics to the whole yard, man. And he was really the dude. Okay. I didn't have a father in my life, and he was that guy. And he probably instilled that.
Hey, are your Titans gonna do anything this year? You know, I'm always rooting for Derrick Henry and our boys. What the Titans gonna do, man?
Oh, you talking about the King?
Yeah, King Henry, baby.
The King. Well, as long as they got the King, I think they always in the hunt. Man, the King is fierce, and you know, they ride him until they can't. So I think they're gonna be in every game, and they got a shot to win 11 games. They improved their defense, which was horrendous last year. And so now,
if you ain't watching Cowboys, you'll know nothing about no horrendous.
Well, yeah, they were bad. Typically, the Titans, especially when you got a head coach as a DC, pretty much. I mean, he's a background Vrabel. So that's gotten fixed, and they drafted some DBs, and so now they gotta, kind of gotta shore up and make sure these receivers for Corey Davis and the tight end Jonnu Smith get replaced. But it's a lot of turnover, a lot more turnover, George, and guys, compared to in our day. I mean, like 40% of the rosters changed.
Man, I'm surprised they let Jonnu Smith go, though, man. How they let
that's crazy.
Belichick come in there and get that man?
Yes, but the New England gave him $50-something million. They were like, "What, man? I don't know about that one."
Yeah, I guess I could do it.
I love Jonnu Smith, and Corey Davis was a great number 2 from AJ Brown, who had an incredible season back to back after his rookie season. So, yeah, they're gonna be in the hunt. They're gonna run the football and run that stretch, and don't nobody want to tackle Derrick Henry. Not no safety, not no linebacker. I mean, this dude is a machine. I mean, I'm serious now.
Yeah, you know why? Built by Bama, baby. Built by Bama. You know I had to bring it in, baby. Built by Bama, baby.
You set that up for that. Hey, I want to ask you a couple questions right quick, Blaine. Number one, what advice would you give these rookies that are coming in the league, whether they're a high draft pick or a lower draft pick? What advice would you give them? They have a lot of temptations, a lot of things that they could get into, and the game is different than,
Yeah.
when you were playing. It's a lot
Hmm.
of social media. It's a totally different world now. So what advice would you give these rookies coming in? And another part is, what is one underrated player that you played against that like nobody talks about, but like, listen, nobody talks about this dude, but this dude was really good.
Oh, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. There's two guys, and I'm gonna just bleep that out real quick. Is Jimmy Smith from the Jaguars, and both of them with the Jaguars. Freddie T should be in the Hall of Fame easy all day, both of them. No question, they were the best that I played against, or in that category of the best, and they should be in the Hall of Fame in my opinion. Unfortunately, we beat them in the playoffs, but they brought it all. They could, there was nothing that they couldn't do. Yeah.
So, an advice to some kids or
Yeah.
people that are getting
Also,
drafted?
advice for the kids is, man, it's such a different era. I would say I would kind of keep a low profile if it was me playing in the National Football League at this time. Not to say you still want to be part of the social media game. Just remember, though, everybody is now media because they got those camera phones. So just watch what you're doing when you go out in public because everybody's watching and everybody's trying to take you down. So I would probably be a little more paranoid of making sure that I stayed on my P's and Q's wherever I go. I'm not going to say don't go anywhere because you want to enjoy life at the same time, but just remember what you're representing, not only yourself and the team, but everybody's now. You got to look at it as going to be haters because once you start making all that money, they're going to try to bring you down. So that's kind of really just, man, watch your back, really, to be honest, because, man, I don't know if I would go to an event unless they say we collecting phones at the door.
For real.
Hey,
I'm
well,
saying that.
well, hey,
It's
look,
wild out there. It's wild in them streets now.
hey,
Yeah,
y'all
it's
sit
tough
tight.
sledding out there, man.
Hey, listen, y'all, if you don't mind, we need to sit tight. I need to take a quick break, really fast, and that is tremendous. And Blaine, hopefully you'll hang in, if you want, because we got a couple more things we'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
These guys with speed, but we're gonna go ahead and pay a couple bills real quick. We'll be back in about 30 seconds.
ProfoundSites.com for your personal and commercial needs. Websites built, repaired, secured, maintained, and found. Brent Thomas and ProfoundSites.com provide e-commerce development, website development, online marketing, web, mobile, and e-commerce consulting. With over 10 years experience, Profound Sites is responsible for creating GeorgeTeague.com, where you can hear Teague's Take with George Teague every week. Brent Thomas and Profound Sites can take you through the entire pain-free process of building your new website. From initial discussion to planning, design, to coding and making your site live and discoverable on the internet. Contact Brent Thomas at ProfoundSites.com or email him at brent@ProfoundSites.com.
Hey, welcome back to Teague's Take. Thank you guys for joining us and staying with us. We got another 25 minutes or so of the show. And this is the part where we get into a few other topics. So the format is always dealing with the guests, and then we go into some other things. So we got a couple of topics we got to hit. I've been talking about it. I don't know if you guys saw DK Metcalf running the preliminaries or whatever it was for the Olympics. But I'm going to turn this over for a quick second to JT so he can head up our Money Matters segment. JT, take it away.
Yeah, so DK Metcalf went and ran at the U.S. Olympic trials. He ran the Open 100 and clocked in at 10.36, which was good enough to be ninth in his heat. So the question I'm posing is, do you think that NFL players can dominate in the Olympics as a lot of talk has been? I think Pat McAfee even went on his show saying that he believes that a lot of NFL players would be able to do very well in the Olympics. And I would like to get some takes on that because you have guys that are special like DK Metcalf who have that kind of speed, and obviously there are guys that are faster than DK. But I look around at guys like Marquise Goodwin who's long jumpers, and he's made it to the Olympics. but he's not necessarily meant you don't see Marquise Goodwin and think, okay, yeah, he's going in, he's probably taking home a gold medal. So at large, outside of the Tyreek Hills and folks of that nature, do we really think that NFL guys would be able to kind of just show up kind of like DK did and be able to take home some hardware at the Olympics?
Big game, what you say about that?
I don't think they would take home any hardware, my opinion, because I ran track, and I play football too, and those are two different monsters. I know when you run track, it definitely helps you in football. With the speed aspect, start and stopping your breaks and things of that nature. But track, when they're training for track, it's like year round. It's not like 3 months, 6 months. It's year round. It's all the time. And professional athletes can't dedicate that type of time to be able to do that. And when I seen DK Metcalf, just like JT said, he's a special athlete. You're not going to see any NFL player just jumping in there and doing that. He's special. And even him being special, he still finished 9th. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like, what kind of more training are you going to be able to do to dedicate yourself to be able to run and get gold or silver medals? I just don't see that, in my opinion.
So, Blaine, what do you think about that, though, man? Because, there's guys that are, 4.2 laser times, or some 4.1s or whatnot. I'm not sure what that actually equates to in 100, but it has to be, 9.9, 10 something, right? In that case,
maybe. I mean, what was DK's? Because if he's in the 4.2, 4.3, it equates to a 10.36 apparently.
Well, yeah, and does it matter about his height or weight though? Did he have to lose? Does it make a difference if he's not? Well, I don't know how much he weighs, but he's 2 something and not
about 225,
not 190
Yeah,
or 195.
He's not normal. They're smaller than that, definitely, in the league. I mean, on the field, track field.
Yeah. Well, I would say there are definitely some guys that can do it. I think they have to train. I'm with you guys on if they training year round. I used to train to help my speed because I always felt like that was going to be an issue with a lot of like Quincy Watts and Curtis Conway and all these guys who are on USC's track team. And there's a huge difference. I can run on that track and I'll be 5 steps behind those guys. I get on the football field, I'm running stride for stride with them. So it's just a different element. I think they'd have to go all in and be a track person. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule with some special guys that are super fast, like, Tyreek Hill and guys of that ilk. But I don't think like, a lot of DBs or a lot, you could just say receivers or running back. There's all of them can compete at the Olympic level. I don't think that is true at all. I think it's always going to be a handful of guys that could kind of attempt it and probably do solid. But with the muscle mass that you're carrying, most of us as football players, it probably doesn't benefit you being a track athlete.
Well, I want to put it this way, and there are some athletes, and we were very fortunate enough. We had a dude by the name of Michael Carter on our podcast. He did play, he did win a Super Bowl, and he did win I think he won a gold medal in the Olympics, and his daughter, right, in the shot put or whatnot. But what I was about to say is, and we're really talking about this 100. But I really started thinking about, man, can you see any of us? And I don't know what y'all did for conditioning in the league or whatnot, but trying to run a quarter. Can you imagine some football player trying to run a quarter out there, or maybe even a 200?
I've done this work. I'm like, oh man, tough sled, man.
So I think you guys are onto something there. I think that you really got to train for these guys, and I've played with some fast guys that were track guys. Kevin Lee at the University of Alabama, who came into the league. And I think it's the same way. Track guys, or vice versa, the track guys can't necessarily come in and play our sport either. You throw on them pads and you get a little bit of contact in the way. That changes that up. You can put Usain Bolt
doing fly patterns.
Yeah, they still gonna get jammed up on the line. They can come on out there, put Hussein out there. He gonna get. He gonna be under the water cooler like he was talking about a little earlier.
Watch this. I don't know if JT would remember this guy because he probably wasn't born, but remember when we were growing up, that Nehemiah guy?
That's what I was about to say, Ronaldo Nehemiah.
When we were growing up, I'm like, oh, he's fast, but then all of a sudden he became normal when they start hitting. He's just another fast guy out there.
He he never wanted to get hit. They was always trying to throw deep, and he was going near them sidelines.
Yeah.
Nah, man. So I don't know. I don't think it. It will be the norm. I'm glad that he did it. So well, let me pose this question because we got a couple minutes. There's a lot of talk in it, right? So does DK get props for coming in 9th place in his heat, just for going out and trying to run 10-3 and being 230 or 240 or whatever it is? Does he get props for that, or is it, why you do it? Because you did get 9th and you're in last. What do you guys think?
Second to last.
Hmm?
No, I mean, it seemed to be well received by most of his peers. I thought it was cool just because, it's he went out there, he held his own. I mean, I know it was 9th out of 10, but I know how that feels. I got 27th out of 27th one time, and man,
We all been there.
even when you think you're moving, you still sometimes you don't come out ahead. But for somebody who's not particularly training to run the 100, and you can just kind of show up and run a 10-3. I mean, that's whether you get last or second or first, I think that's still pretty impressive. I mean, and for there's a lot. If he had aspirations to get a gold medal, he's got like almost a full second he'd have to shave off in order to.
And that's a lot of training just to straight that's full second. Oh, that's a lot. Of
Exactly. So I think he's. I give him props for it for showing up and not getting dusted. 'Cause I mean, for the first 60 meters, he was actually ahead. I mean, I want to know if he ran a 60 meter, does he win? Because it looks like on the tape,
he was.
He
Banging
got
with
out
him.
there, and at 60 meters,
Yeah.
he's beating everybody. And then it's like, okay, now that's where the track starts to
Pull
take
away,
over.
right,
The last
right.
40 meters is when he started getting left.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that because now typically you're running 40s for the when you're getting timed as an NFL guy, and then 60s, so he just hung on to it a little bit longer with his conditioning. But that 100, it seems like it's long when you're a football player. And I'm talking when you talking about sprinting at a high level. Just think about this, guys. Teague, I mean, how often, or especially at safety, how often we sprinting 100 yards? Probably we not even sprinting past 30 yards.
Yep.
If you sprint 100 yards, then you got bigger
So
problems.
it's just like,
Right.
oh man, nah, man.
No.
And that kind of training is every day. When you're training in track, you're running all day. That's what you do. You're running the whole time you're in practice. So they train it. But I give them props just because, just like JT said, he came out of, he wasn't doing the training that they're doing, and to be able to come in, and to me, really the size, their guys aren't that size running track. And to run it at that size, 6'3", 230 pounds. And like you said, he was staying with them in the beginning. It wasn't like he was embarrassing himself. And then, like you said, the track pulled away. But I definitely give him props for it. But I think, to me, honestly, they went a little overboard in social media. Everybody and their mama go. Social media goes overboard with this stuff. Okay, it was great, but come on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I do give him his props as well. I think that's great. So let me tell you guys about 3R Sports Graphic real fast. They were founded in 2018 by Tyler Sanders. They provide affordable graphic content tailored for individual schools to promote high schools and collegiate programs. You get a deal with one designer from the 3R Sports team, from the initial project idea to delivery of the final project. 3R Sports Graphics are here to help you with your social media graphics. I personally use them, if you hadn't seen in our Twitter account and such and other things for the graphics with Teague's Takes. Please visit their website, 3rsportsgraphics.com. You can email Tyler, the owner, at tsanders2405@gmail.com, or follow them on Twitter at 3rsports1. That's 3R Sports, the number 1. So, fellas, let's go on into the final play right now. So I'm a high school coach, as you guys know, at John Paul II High School, and I get to deal with a lot of the recruiting aspects, and there's a lot of different things that go into that. Guys are always trying to position themselves to be successful as we should. You heard Blaine Bishop talking about his challenges and his strategy that he had to use to recruitment, maybe going from one school to the next and different things. And so now a new trend that is out there is early graduation for high school players to get to spring football in college. So I want to be able to discuss this and see what our panel thinks about this, because I'm kind of torn with it. 3.5 years of high school, you don't get the full experience. Are the kids mature enough to be able to handle it? And I've talked to some of the college coaches about what their thoughts are, but let's bring the panel back in so I can see what they think about it before I give my take on this. I know Big James wants to say something. I ain't going to do it right now because I want to hear from JT first. Do you have any kind of, you're closest to coming out of high school and being around the grass, and I don't even know if you had anybody that left from your school for early graduation to go play. But what do you think about it? Am I overthinking this? Is it?
I think I don't know. I guess I'm torn on it too. I mean, I can see why you'd want kids to stay throughout the spring and into into the summer and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose when I'm looking at it, what I think about most is when you're a senior. And I'm thinking about on both sides, sports and academics. It's like that last semester when you get senioritis, you're not doing anything. You're doing the absolute minimum to just skate by the last 6 to 9 weeks and doing nothing. And you can't participate in your own spring ball, so you kind of out there. Like for me, I was in the football period, just kind of standing there watching practice.
But so are you ready to, and I get that, senioritis, getting ready to go, but does that mean that you're coming off the first semester, you're trying to get ready to graduate, that you're ready to go step in and be a full-time student in college? Now you got to hit the books hard now. Now you got to get used to this new college regimen, because you know how they're going to do. You're going to be up early or staying up late and going to tutoring and whatever else. Do they break down, in their first semester? Not all of them, but can it become a problem?
But I think you have to remember, like, so you're actually stealing a semester in college, right? So it's not like you got to come in taking 15 hours or 18 hours, and it only takes 12 hours to be full time, which is, depending on which classes you take, might be 3 classes, which in most cases, with John Paul being the exception, because you got the staggered A-Day, B-Day. Mm-hmm. But even then, I would say Hebron being the exception, because I only have 3 classes a semester. They were just long classes. But a lot of kids, they have 8 courses they got to do every day. It's a full day worth of class, and you got sports after school that is not built in to your curriculum, much like it is in Texas. Or at least a lot of places in Texas. So I think you might actually get a break taking a class every other day, and football, which, maybe you're not starting or anything like that, but you get to start being in the weight room. You start building a relationship with those coaches. You start to learn what's expected of you. And it's, for the most part, I think some of the benefits outweigh the drawbacks, because I think most kids can handle a lighter class load. Because especially they're not jumping in taking Cal 3 right off the bat, and if they are, they're already ready for it. Most kids are coming in taking whatever.
Only you know what Cal 3 is. Don't know nobody else on this panel know what you're talking about. Cal 3. So
you feel me?
Yeah. So Big Game, what you say about this? I know you got some relatives who are in the middle of this, getting recruited and different things.
Yeah, I got a young cousin right now. He's a sophomore, and he's getting recruited. Like I say, he's got like 11 Power 5 schools right now. He just got LSU. He just got a LSU offer today. So
Bama?
I'm sure Bama's coming. I'm
Don't,
sure
don't
Bama's
put that
coming.
in the
You feel
same
me?
category. Don't do that, man. Don't do that.
I'm just, my thing is, cornerback, safety, let's do it. We got some guys that done did it before you, so you got some good guys to look up to. But just listening to you guys, I was like, dang, what am I thinking, like back and forth, because just like you said, you want the kids to understand. I mean, high school, it's the one time you're gonna do it, but honestly, I think now it's not a big deal to me now, because the way this age is going, the way 2021 and beyond. I mean, my son graduated in COVID. Okay, so he had nothing. Okay, he just had. They stood up. They stood in front of the thing. We took a picture. They announced it right quick, and it was over. So it was just like that. But when I asked him, I was like, how you feel about it? He said, it wasn't that big of a deal to him. You know what I mean? And these kids are coming out of high school now, and honestly, it's not going to stop from the pressure of these coaches. These coaches, college programs are pressuring them. They get these top guys. They want them there. They want them there early because they want them to get the fastest time that they can get acclimated to the field, the academics, everything. So that pressure is not going to stop. That's not going anywhere. And plus, I think these kids, with the way the internet and everything, they're just more equipped with the grades. I think they're just more equipped to be able to handle it mentally, going right from high school to college. I mean, we see it with the NBA. They're only playing 1 year and they're going right to the league. And there's a lot of kids that are going to the league and being successful. So the other kids are seeing that. So their brains are already looking at freshman year, sophomore year. I'm ready to go there early. So I think they're already equipping their minds to be able to do it. So the change over is not as big, in my opinion. So I'm okay. I'm not tripping with, especially if you're a top guy. Why not? Because like I said, senioritis, and they're thinking, man, I'm going to college. I ain't thinking about high school no more.
Gotta go. Well, the mamas, they'd be the ones that have the problem because they want you to walk and they want you to do all the other stuff. So, Blaine, how you feel about it, man?
Yeah, you guys are all so right, man, especially on the mama part, man, for sure. I think every situation is its own individual case. And that's being in tune with your kid. There's a lot of factors here. You got to talk about maturity level. You can want him in the pressure, as James said, that's not going away with the coaches. But if the kid is actually not mature enough to be ready for that level, you must know that as a parent, and don't put them in a compromising position where they're not prepared. And that's your job as a parent, to make sure that you put them in a situation that they can be successful. I think number two is academics. You got to make sure they academically are ready and have the support system around them to make sure that they can be successful. And will they follow along the way, or are they disciplined enough to put in the work, not just on the football field in the weight room, but also in the classroom? Because guess what? At some point, as we all know, me and George can't run no more. So yeah, you better have a backup plan. All righty. And then athletically, is it worth it for you personally? You can be a tremendous athlete, but are you all in mentally? That's another factor that is not factored into that. That just because you have all those great attributes, don't mean you're all in. It's a sacrifice. You're not going to put in the work. Then it's not high school no more. Guess what? You were the best player in high school because you were just better than everybody else. But now you got to go put in work because everybody else is going to be just as good as you now.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of really how I look at it. And if you think your kid is prepared to go down that road on a solo act, and that they got the right support system around him at the school, and you're comfortable with it, I think every individual should say, yeah, I'm cool with it. If you're not, then don't do it. What's it going to do? Cost him a semester of starting a little bit late? That's not a big deal when you're talking about in life. So you want to make sure you put them out there where they can ride that ride and enjoy it at the same time, and not be stressed out about things that they weren't prepared for.
All right. So real quick before we get ready to close this out, and I know this wasn't on our sheet to be able to talk about, but I do feel like we need to talk about it. Tim Tebow getting signed to go play tight end there. Are we upset about this or not? Should other people be mad about this? You got a guy that hadn't played, didn't play any tight end. He's been out of the league for I don't know how long. And he gets picked up by Urban Meyer to come out there and try to play some tight end. Is this a waste of time? Are people supposed to be mad at this? I don't know. I don't know what to think about this.
Disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful to me just from afar. You guys played, so I'm sure I want to like to hear what you say, but just from a fan point of view and on that level, I think it's just disrespectful for a lot of kids that are training and trying to be in this and trying to get the opportunities to do that. And it just feels like, from afar, Urban Meyer, rookie coach, it's a feel good thing. It looks good to get people in the stands, Tebow back. Now everybody's going to be talking about it, and they're trying to boost. I feel like boost sales or whatever because it's going to be a little sideshow. Everybody's going to be keep talking about it. Can he transition to tight end? Can he do this? Tim Tebow made a catch today. He caught a fourth. You know what I mean? It's just, I just feel like there's a lot of other guys that really, I feel like deserved a chance. I mean, he went and played baseball. Now he's playing football. What you gonna play next after that? You know what I'm saying? To get the first chance before any other people. So I just feel like other people deserve it more than him, and I think it's more of a sideshow in Jacksonville just to get people in the stands.
Yeah. So Blaine, does it become a distraction for the locker room just having them in there? During training camp.
I'm really conflicted on this one because, first of all, I respect Tim Tebow and what he did in college football, and he was a great player. He had his shot, and now Urban Meyer is being an actual college coach in the NFL. And the guy who has the most power is Trevor Lawrence. He's got the most power, not the tight end, not a guy journeyman who's going to be 34 years old and probably is not going to make the team. Now, if you think this is college and you think that that's going to work in the NFL locker rooms, I beg to differ. Yeah. I do not think that's going to work. And I, as much as I respect Tebow and him going out for baseball, I would never put anything past him. This one here is one that kind of pulls me back and say, now you're not letting go of the itch to play in the National Football League. Now, if he was working in the front office or a scout or a coach, I'm all in. But this one kind of takes it too far. Love you, Tebow, but don't like this decision.
Yes, JT, final word, baby.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna be upset about it, don't be upset at the NFL. Don't be upset with Tim Tebow. Be upset with Urban Meyer. This is, I don't know why I didn't see this coming. This is something that I totally expect from him. The type of hires that he does. I still think that Tim Tebow was a big part of Urban Meyer's team in Florida to cover up a whole bunch of other stuff. So now I'm just waiting to see what Tim Tebow is going to be covering up this time.
Amen. Well, there it is, man. That was a great show. Thank you guys for all that you guys have done tonight. It has been a great one, that's for sure. Next week, we got another special guest, and I know Big James will like this. Kevin Smith is going to be on our show.
Yeah.
Yep, that all-star cornerback from the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to come join us. Make sure you find our podcast. Of course, if you're watching it live right now, you're here. But if you haven't seen it, go make sure you're tuning in on all your podcast channels. Check them all out. Download them. Give us some likes. Give us some follows. We will appreciate it. But until next week, we'll see you next week about 8 o'clock Central Time. Y'all have a great one. Peace.
Appreciate it.
Subscribe to our feed at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening now. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Teague's Take Podcast. Remember to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the stream. Stay engaged by following us on Instagram and Twitter at Teague's Take, where you can keep up to date with news postings and other live content.